I saw a question on Facebook in regards to uh, black on black violence in South Africa. And they related it to gang violence and black on black violence in America. And they're asking, what can we do to stop this? They called it generational trauma. And what can we do to stop it? And there's also been a clip from Amos Wilson, a lecture where he was saying how this is self hate and it's internalized hate, and we do this stuff to each other, but we don't turn this same violence and aggression towards our open enemies. And this is a tough topic because we look at it from a lens more than likely. In most cases, we look at it from a lens of why we're behaving the way that we are, why this is happening. Things come up like being colonized, um, being white thinking, or acting like Yurugu, or not acting like our African selves, or not having knowledge of self, which there are elements of that are true, but ultimately we have to dissect the condition in the area, what's happening in South Africa and what's happening in communities in the United States are similar, but they're not exactly the same. So let's deal with what's happening in America. So first and foremost, there is no black community. There's not this just we're all a part of a community just because we're black. That's not real. You have black people who live in areas that are predominantly black, where most people in that community are black, and they just deal with each other in that environment. And then you have areas and cities and communities that are highly integrated or highly multi-ethnic. There's white people, Mexican, Italian, Jewish, black, all Asian, whatever, all living in the same community. And they're neighbors, and they actually commune together. They share friendship and things in common together. They may go to the same church. They may work together. That's a community where they're actually engaged with each other. And then again, when you have predominantly black areas, like a Detroit or a Harlem or Memphis, Tennessee, these communities that are predominantly black, where you have concentrations of high violence, frequent what they call community violence, then that's another story. That's really a predominantly black community. In most cases, those are working class communities, and a lot of times those are communities where people are unemployed. There's a lot of drug trafficking taking place, and there's a lot of violence amongst young people in those areas because there's not a family structure or family systems and networks in place where the people actually treat each other like a real community. Um, and we can talk about how this happened and why it happened, but at the end of the day, if we don't control the actual community, we don't control relationships, meaning we don't control how people relate to one another, male, female, young to older, family to family. We don't control that, then we can't dictate outcomes or how people are going to treat each other. If we don't control what socialization looks like from child to adult, if we don't control the education system, we don't control the school system, if we don't own, operate, and control how children are raised and taught, then we have no power. If we don't have moral institutions, not churches and mosques and religious institutions like We have in most black communities. But if we don't have moral institutions where moral philosophy is promoted or endorsed, and people are matriculated throughout a process from a child to adult, then we're not going to have control over people. So we don't control the culture, we don't control the finance, we don't control the economy, we don't control the education, we don't control the family system and structure. So you get, or you produce a people behaving and engaging with one another in a certain way because there's no control. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't want control. We don't want to be controlled. We don't want anyone telling us what to do. Even within the religious institutions, the church and stuff like that, there's these codes and laws and commandments and all that stuff biblically and religiously that people don't follow. So you don't get a good end product. The person is the end product, and we're not producing people because we don't control the narrative. We're not going to change this systemic process of youth acting violently or communities, people treating each other violently. We're not going to change it unless we can control all aspects of life, all aspects of the environment where people live. You're not going to change entire cultures and populations of people while inside of a system that's designed for you really to just be a tool. We've endured enslavement and come out of that and through Jim Crow, and today here we are, just a product of America. You know, we're a product of this society. And the idea that we're going to save all the people or change the community, it really is just illogical. It doesn't make sense at all. So, what's the solution? The solution is we have to have systems and processes in place that can help people who want to live a better quality of life. And that's something that people have to understand, that there's a better way, there's a different way, there's another way. And we can teach, we can preach, we can educate, we can train, we can coach, we can do all those things. But it really depends on the person. The person coming to the realization that I don't want to be like this. I don't want this to be my lifestyle. I don't want to have these habits. I don't want to raise my kids this way. I'm a young person, maybe who's just finished high school and don't know what to do with my future. I know I don't want to be in the street. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to labor the rest of my life for someone else's benefit. This has to be an individual desire, an individual choice, an individual conclusion. But we have to have some kind of systems and processes in place that can help those people who are trying to get out of the matrix. And this is literally what we need is people who are prepared themselves to lead other people out of the matrix. But there has to be another place to go. We're not going to save these communities. We're not going to save everybody. We're not going to end what's taking place for us as a population of people. It's just not a reality. But we can pull people, individuals, and families out of the matrix. But we have to have somewhere for them to go. Where are our schools? Where are our hospitals? Where are our moral philosophy institutions? Where are our spiritual institutions? Where are our family institutions where people want to go um, to live better? We don't have anything in place. And until we have something in place where people can go to get out of this current oppressive and deadly system, then we will perpetuate generation after generation what we see.